Hey, what's going on? Welcome to this video. My name is Alif, and if you're a beginner freelancer and you're struggling to figure out how to price your services and all that stuff, I'm going to show you in this video 2 ways that you can go about it. That's not very complicated, very easy to follow, and helps you start executing fast so you can start making money fast. All right, so 2 ways I'm gonna break down. Let's go into the way number one. Okay, this is what I call my resentful rule. Now before I break down what this rule is, I need to give you some context. So early in my career, whatever you call it, I used to write resumes for students, right? And I remember I would charge someone like $40 to write a resume. $40 is really not that much to write a whole resume. And I remember there was one student that hired me to write their resume, and I was like, oh my god, $40, I can do this. I was so excited, right? And it was a Friday night that I had to write their resume. So there I am. I'm like, okay, I just finished work. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, but I had to write this resume, and this person was paying me for what I thought was a lot. So I was like super excited. So instead of going home to write the resume, I ended up going to a nearby university alone by myself in a hallway that had a desk, and I had no one but myself there, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. Now it's time to write the resume that they hired me for. And on top of that, I'm not just gonna write any resume. I'm gonna go 110% above and beyond because this person paid me $40 and I'm gonna freaking absolutely do it, right? And so there I am alone by myself in the hallway. 1 hour passes and I'm like, okay, I think I'm making some progress. Okay, let's go. 2 hours pass and I'm like, okay, this is taking much longer than I thought. Like, and if you know resume writing, like that stuff, like it's actually a lot of hard work. Like figuring out the star statements and everything and rewriting things in your head, like it's just a lot. And then 4 hours pass and I'm like, oh my god, this is becoming so much. I don't even want to do this anymore. At this point, I worked 4 hours for $40. That's $10 an hour. I'm technically getting paid less than a McDonald's employee here in Ontario. And I started like getting very bitter, very resentful. And I was like, I hated this. And every keystroke that I had to type for that resume felt like such a pain. I was like, oh god, I hate this. I hate this. And the worst thing was it was a Friday night. My friends were all out. I see their Instagram stories and I'm like, fuck, man, they're all hanging out without me. And here I am writing a resume in this like random hallway in the dark on a Friday night. And I got like very resentful and I just hated everything. I just hated, especially myself for putting myself in that particular situation. I was like, God damn, like I hate this, right? And I was just in a really bad mood. Finally, I delivered the resume. And from that point on, I realized I made a decision. I'm like, dude, I can never be this resentful ever again because that was so painful for me to go through. All right, which leads me to way number one if you want to go about pricing your services. It's what I call, again, the resentment rule. So the idea here is this. Let's say you're on a Zoom call with a client and they're thinking of hiring you for a project, and they ask you what your price is, okay? Think of it like this. Ask yourself in that moment, if it was a Friday night, all my friends were out asking me to hang out, and I had to do this work for them, how much would I have to be paid in this moment for me to not feel resentful of the client, right? Because the idea here is this. You do not want to be resentful of your client. You want to be paid what you're worth, feel like everything is fair, and feel good about yourself. Because if you do work and feel resentful at the same time, the work that you do is not going to be good, and therefore you send it to the client. They're not going to be happy. They're not going to refer you clients. Now, like bad things will spread about you in the marketplace, and your business will just kind of go down, right? And that's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid resentment. You don't want to think that people think of you as a low value person. You want to feel good about yourself, so when you do the work, it looks good, the client's happier, everything is much better. So that is my rule, resentment rule. So ask yourself in that moment, if I were hired to do this on a Friday night when all my friends were out and I could be doing fun things with them, instead of doing that, how much would I have to be paid for this project for me to not feel resentful for doing this work for them? All right, very simple, basic rule. And the idea here is this. Use this as a rule of thumb to go about your pricing, because I find with new freelancers and everything, they take way too much time preparing, right? I gotta figure out my services and the pricing, and then they go into calculation mode and how. Just the key if you're starting off is just to start, right? Just start and start making money and pivot as you go, right? You'll start getting more confident about your pricing and everything moving forward. But just to start off, just use this rule of thumb, the resentment rule. All right. That is way number one. Way number two is another pretty simple way. This is more calculative, right? So here's fundamentally how way number two works. It requires calculation. So math. So first decide, I'm going to oversimplify things for the sake of explanation. So ask yourself, within this 1 week, how much money do I want to make? Let's say you want to make $1,000 within that 1 week. All right, cool. And now ask yourself, how many hours do I want to work within that week? And let's say you want to work 10 hours, all right? So within a week, you want to work 10 hours and you want to make $1,000. So for 10 hours, for $1,000, that's pretty much $100 an hour, right? So now you know your general roughly hourly rate, okay? So now when you're on a call with a client and they're like, hey, I need some emails done for me, and you know based on your experience, okay, this is about 5 hours of work. Knowing that you know your hourly rate is $100 an hour, now you can say to the client, okay, well, it's 5 hours of work. My hourly rate is $100 an hour, so this will cost you $500. How does that sound to you? And that is a simple rule that you can use to figure out what your pricing is, okay? This rule will probably come later on as you get a lot more experience with what you do, because then you start figuring out, like, okay, if I do this project, it'll generally take me this much time, so therefore blah, 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 right? Like all that experience stuff will come into play, and you'll get a better idea of how long something will take and how much you do want to make and all that. But if you're just starting off, right, use the rule of resentment. It sounds really, really bad. Rule of resentment, huh? Never get resentment of your business. Anyways, I hope this helps. Feel free to follow me on social media. Subscribe to my newsletter down below if you want more marketing mindset and business tips and tricks and personal stories about my life. Sent to your email newsletter. Sent to your mailbox. Subscribe to this channel if you want more content like this, and I will see you, my friend, in the next video. Peace out, peace out, peace out.